Hi, and welcome to my first video in the Hindsights of 2020 series. Today I'm focusing on things that we may have taken for granted and appreciating the small things. I think it's human nature that when we get into a norm or a routine, a particular living situation, that we start to, over time, tend to take things for granted. The newness, the novelty, or how much we enjoy things starts to fade a little bit, and in replacement, it becomes a bit of an expectation or a norm, and we don't even think about it anymore. I know that was certainly the case for me as I went into the first lockdown in the UK that started in March of 2020. Of course, for me and for everybody else, it was a very restrictive time when we weren't able to leave our houses pretty much for anything other than going to get groceries or necessities. And I remember a few weeks in, after we had that experience, the first time I was able to go out to a local coffee shop and enjoy a coffee that someone else had made for me for the first time in weeks. Now, in the past, I would have gone to a local coffee shop and bought a coffee pretty much every day, and sometimes maybe even more than once a day, depending upon when I was commuting. I never even thought about the fact that I had that. But then when I couldn't do it anymore, or I was having to make my coffee myself, which I'll be honest, isn't the greatest, then I suddenly started to appreciate how nice it was just to be able to go out and buy a coffee. The same thing happened when I was able to go cycling for the first time, or the first time I could get a takeaway food and I wasn't having to prepare my own meal, or the first time I was able to meet up with a friend and go for a walk, even if it was socially distanced. These are all things that I had taken for granted before, never even really thought about, that suddenly I started to realize how important they were to me. But not just things or situations, also people. Obviously, being in a situation where we can't interact with our friends and family in the same way for many of us around the world, not being able to have friends over or to meet up for social events or things like that, we recognize that. But what about those impromptu conversations over the water cooler in the office during the break, or in the hallway when we're passing a colleague, or being able to go out and socialize, grab a coffee with a coworker or something like that? These things that maybe we had taken for granted before, or the people. Even if it's the person who you happen to be on the same train platform for your daily commute, you have a little chit chat with, and then suddenly you don't have that anymore. For me, recognizing how important those small things were and how much they added richness to my life was a very important learning for me from the experience that was 2020. So I'm really curious for you, what are some things, or perhaps people, that you may have taken for granted before that now suddenly you have a newfound appreciation for, even the small things? I'd love to hear from you as always, and what that experience may have been for you. And I will look forward to being back with you soon to talk about a few more learnings that I've had from 2020. Take care.